so I'm just gonna do the intro. Hey! All right. Hey, movie pirates. Welcome to another episode of I Love This Treasure, a segment of the I Love This Flick podcast. I am Josh Pfizer. With me once again is Gabe Wilkinson. How you doing, Gabe?
I am well.
Oh, good. It's good to hear that. Yeah, and we're doing a movie I'm just gonna guess particularly dear to your heart since you've been trying to get me to watch it like for such a long time.
Yeah, well, the director Jess Franco is dear to my heart. I
Yes.
love what he does, and Vampyros Lesbos is probably his most successful in the genre.
Right. And then that's the movie we're doing, Vampyros Lesbos.
Bestialische Morde im Dunkeln des modernen Istanbuls. Jener geheimnisvollen, jahrtausendealten Stadt im Orient.
Lass ihn aufwachen! Irgendwie!
Eine gewagte und harte Verfilmung des alten Dracula-Themas, dessen Erbe Schrecken, Entsetzen und Grauen bedeutet. Eine gnadenlose, tödliche Jagd.
Gleichzeitig erregt dieser Traum mich auch. Ich bin mehr als einmal schon dabei zum Orgasmus gekommen. Sie versuchen mir Linda wegzunehmen.
Aber warum kommen Sie dann hierher?
Weil du in dieser Stunde sterben wirst.
Ein blutiger Weg, voller grauenhafter Entdeckungen. Frauen im Banne des unheimlichen Erbes und uralten Fluches des Grafen Dracula.
I am gonna ask. We're recording this the day after Halloween. How was your Halloween?
It was pretty uneventful. I worked till from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Ooh,
and then
yeah.
I just hung out with my kids.
All right, that's not terrible.
No,
We'd have to
no,
hang
there
out
wasn't
with
any trick or
children.
treat or anything.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, you have to hang out with children.
Well, they're my children, so
Okay.
yeah, it's
All right.
not so bad.
Yeah, it's probably not so bad. I don't know. I am adamantly not a father, but but yeah, this is a movie that we have been talking about doing for a while, or like you've been trying to get me to watch for a little bit.
Yeah.
As an introduction to just and I've seen it. I've seen his name spelled like Jesus. You know what I mean? I don't know
Yes,
if
that's his. That's the he. See, the thing is with him is he uses lots of different director names and lots of different writing names and lots of
okay.
different producing names. So you only get lucky, and sometimes it's Jess, sometimes it's Jesus, sometimes it's what is he else he goes by? Oh, there's all kinds of different names. It's kind of like Joe D'Amato.
I don't know who that is, and I'm sure you're going to tell me. Joe D'Amato?
He's one of the classics. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll give me a recommendation.
Oh, I can't. He went. Oh, Joe. He does a lot of straight up porn.
Oh, okay. Well, and this is, I
Oh,
mean, this is pretty much softcore porn, pretty much. I mean,
well, this
or it's just
this
European.
yes, this movie's really tame compared to what Jess has done.
Wow. Yeah, and it's an interesting movie. I just rewatched it, and it is, well, I mean, we might as well get into it. But first, I want to say that in honor of this movie, I am drinking Barefoot Cabernet wine, which is considered classy, and Barefoot, which is considered trashy, which is kind of the mix of this movie, because it is like
Right.
I mean, it's straight up exploitation. Like we talked about in the last the Tammy and the T-Rex episode about exploitation movies, but I feel like this is a good example, a very good example of sexploitation.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You're right. You're right at throwing the pitch right down the middle on that one.
Yeah. And I guess one thing with me about this movie, and that I don't mean to like give criticism right away, even though like I really enjoyed the movie. I do have like, I feel like there is a thing of like there's a bit of style over substance with it. You know what I mean? Because and maybe it was just me. I just like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I just found the plot really hard to follow, you know. And I don't know if that's because it's European
Yeah.
story, if it's like German storytelling or what. And this is a German movie, uh so it, you know, there's that. Yep.
Well, that it may not be German. It might have been shot in French or Spanish and then dubbed in German.
And you see, I can't, oh god, that's because it's so many layers on layers for that, because this is like, um you know, you know, I watched this with subtitles, but also like, hey, we're gonna dub it in another language, which
Yep.
is, yeah. But let's get into the plot quick. And I didn't like, I didn't retain character names for this, because it's very much like, oh, it's the blonde woman and it's the brunette you know, vampire, and oh, this is the creepy boyfriend, creepy looking boyfriend. Like, that guy's mustache was incredibly thin. I thought, you know who Paul F. Tompkins is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me of if Paul F. Tompkins when he was young dresses like Paul F. Tompkins now. You know what I mean? I don't know. Okay. Uh I did you freeze? You still there, Gabe?
Froze up on me.
Okay. We're just getting this one face and it's not flattering for you. Okay, I think you're moving again. There you go. There you go. Jesus.
Yeah.
That was incredibly upsetting to me. But character names, the main character is Linda Wittenhouse, who her now, what is her job exactly? Like, she's like some estate. I don't know. She has to go to Countess Nadine Cor.
Right. She's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer, okay.
It's
And
like it's a twist on Jonathan Harker.
yeah, and that's one of the things that was interesting for me, is like,
You remember Jonathan Harker from Dracula?
oh yeah, so well, I just you know, Halloween, I watched almost all of the uh essential, and I'll like point out essential Universal monster movies. You know, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Bride Frankenstein. I didn't watch The Mummy because I just never really, you know, I didn't find really anything that I couldn't get from like Frankenstein or anything like that from that movie.
Right.
And Dracula
Right.
and Dracula the 1931 movie, it's super slow and boring at points, but also like it has such wonderful atmosphere. So I like definitely while watching
Yeah.
this, especially again, I was like in the mind of oh, this is a retelling of the original Dracula story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have the equivalent to most of the characters in it. There's the crazy blonde woman who's Reinfeld from the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I know Tom Waits plays him
Yeah.
in the Francis Ford Coppola movie. Uh
Bram Stoker.
yeah, the Bram Stoker
Yeah. In
Dracula.
the
Yeah.
Renfield.
Renfield. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you get but also like Jonathan
I
Harker
played.
no. I was gonna say Jonathan Harker and
I
Mina
was gonna say
Harker are
I
kind
played.
of the same character in this.
Yeah. Yeah. He cuts corners.
Well, yeah, and well, and also interesting thing is like, I think with most, uh, really good vampire movies from the past 30, 40 years, they have to tweak the mythos a lot in it, which is
Mhm.
it is it's one of those things where when people I mean fucking to this day it's been like I don't know 10 years since Twilight came out and people still rag on it. I, and I'm just like, what, whatever, it's a teen romance thing, and also like some of the vampire mythos in that movie is actually interesting. Like the reason the vampires sparkle is because they're crystallizing from being dead, which is like, oh, that's fascinating. Actually, that's actually a good twist on it. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well, vampires don't sparkle.
I vampires do whatever the fuck you want them to do. Like this is my thing is it's like the book I Am Legend. They're vampires. They're more like zombies, but they're called vampires. It's I really do.
Yeah.
You know what vampires also do? They can't be out in the sunlight, which the vampire in this movie is often. So it's one of those things where like
probably because he couldn't have.
what?
I was gonna say probably because he can't afford night shots.
You're right. I don't. Yeah, thinking back on it, I do not. Uh, I do not remember a single night scene in this movie, except where I just assume like it takes place indoors. Like there's club scenes in this movie where
Yeah.
there's like the first scene. Okay, so first off, the first scene in this movie is kind of jarring because I was under the impression that it was all a dream, but also some of it was the dream, and wait, which parts are a dream, and yeah, it's again, this is going into my one major criticism of the movie is like it's incredibly hard to follow, what's going on.
I'm reading a book right now by a documentarian of Jess Franco's work. And one of the biggest criticism in this book is the fact that Franco barely had a plot. And he actually had someone else write the script after he had shot the movies.
Wait, so how does that work though?
They do ADR dubbing.
Oh, okay. And that
So he
sounds like the early Marvel way of like doing comics. You know what I mean? Because like it
yeah.
was like there would be like a basis for what was going on, and then Stanley would give it to the artist. It would like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, whatever. And then after that, Stanley would write the dialogue.
Yeah, that's basically what Franco would do is he'd have like one page of dialogue or one page of the plot. He'd turn it over to a writer, and that guy would then go ahead and write the script and then dub it for Franco. So Franco would sometimes make, oh, what did he do? He could do 30 or 40 movies in a year.
Yeah, that's well, and I was looking at his filmography. I'm just like, oh my God, he is. Yeah, and it definitely goes to this thing as like he is a exploitation director. He just hammers out movies, but also this movie is gorgeous. Like that, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't even look all that cheap. And if in the scenes that it does, they do some really effective things with it. There was a scene in like a hotel after they go on holiday, uh, and like she's just walking in, like looks like just a plain um white hallway, nothing distinctive, but it's just like that. But that makes it kind of eerie in and of itself. And
Yeah.
this really is a tone thing, really. Like the cinematography in it is wonderful. The colors they use are fantastic. They just pop really well in this. But yeah,
Hey, and I watched it on. I have it on a 2 disc special edition Blu-ray that's been restored in 2K.
by your boys, Vinegar Syndrome, or is that right?
Nope, that's
Nope.
Severin.
Severin. Okay. So here's the thing: is like
Yeah.
like with you is I think is like Severin, Vinegar Syndrome, Blue Underground, like the very like stuff that's even like Arrow would be like, I'll let you guys handle this.
Yeah. Arrow, I think, is a highfalutin label. I don't even think that they're a cheap label. They do all the highbrow stuff.
They did well. I don't know about highbrow because I got a basket case Blu-ray from them. They do stuff that's more well known, I would say. Like I think that's the distinction.
Yeah.
They'll come out with a movie like they'll come out with like a kind of classy movie. I think they came out recently with a Blu-ray copy of the Man of a Thousand Faces with James Cagney about Lon Chaney Sr. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they came out with that one, but for the most part, they do exploitation stuff, but I believe it's exploitation stuff that is and probably not even, but like more again, like I said, more well known. Like I just got their what was it? A Reanimator Blu-ray. Like they'll do stuff
Oh,
like that. So but
yeah.
yeah. But this movie, I bet it looked. I watched what was on streaming through Full Moon Pictures, their streaming
Yep.
platform, and something. And I'm pretty sure this has to do almost entirely with the the um um the streaming itself, but like the subtitles would come up almost after a full sentence of the dialogue, and sometimes it would overlap with
Okay.
another character speaking, and that's just like, oh, this is jarring. I can't follow who's saying what now because of this. And
Right.
uh yeah, but
And I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot of dialogue that you missed out on because a lot of it doesn't make sense,
yes, no,
right? Because
absolutely,
really, this is really about, yeah,
yeah,
this
like
is really about showing two naked women.
I mean, that's true. Like, we should explain them. This is a sexploitation horror movie. I mean, it's fucking. I mean, English translation obviously is lesbian vampires. So, um, at least I assume. Um,
That's what
but
I'm gonna assume too.
yeah, and by the way, I'm just gonna say this. We're going to miss a lot of nuance and criticism of this movie because we are two straight men who so it may get a little gross in this. People are watching, but I'm acknowledging now we probably don't have the depth to talk about the sexuality that much. But of course, like I don't like this is a European exploitation movie from the 70s. There's not a whole lot of nuance.
No, and there's I don't even know how to say it. Everything is style, like you said. There's so
Yeah.
much style and so little substance that it you you get caught up in the ridiculousness of it because it
Yeah.
is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous plot.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously paced. The pacing it just drags,
It
but you can't
drags.
take your eyes off of it.
Yeah, because it's so wonderfully shot. And it's such a weird kind of clusterfuck of a movie. And I would say like I should have like saved this for I love this trash, but it also I think it just doesn't fall in for me the markings of a bad movie because I do feel like it's more of a like art like it is more of an art house movie in that hey I can excuse a incoherent plot and stuff like that if my eyes are getting a treat. I want to watch this movie. Have you heard of the movie the Love Witch?
No, that's a new one for me.
You should check it out. I definitely think it's a um send up of these kinds of movies and this style of filmmaking. Like the thing about the Love Witch is that it's a movie made I think like 2017, 2018, something like that. But if you didn't know that, you would definitely think that it was a movie made in the late 60s, early 70s. They like use
Really?
techniques like that. The colors feel like the colors, pop out in the same way that these do.
Right,
But
right. That's one thing about this movie is the saturation.
yeah.
There's a lot of saturation in the color. It doesn't feel cold. It doesn't feel video-esque.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a warm picture.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And and why don't you tell us a little bit about Jess Franco? Because this is my favorite kind of episode where I don't have to do much work because the guest already knows more about it than I do.
Well, Jess got his start working in Spain. He was going to college and decided he was going to go to make movies. And well, his first love is he was a jazz musician.
Really?
And he does a lot of yeah, he was a jazz musician. He came from a father that was a musician.
Now that makes sense, especially since there is okay, another criticism I'll have of this movie is the soundtrack just goes off into different directions for no reason. You know what I mean? It will
That's jazz.
yeah, and it's like it's that groovy 60s kind of jazz. Like I don't know, like you're the
Yep.
musician, but it's like acid jazz. Is that a good distinction?
It's more like bad jazz. It's just a guy who thinks he's a really good player
Yeah.
and just kind of, because Franco did a lot of his own music for his movies, especially in the later part of his life. He couldn't afford to pay somebody to do the soundtrack, so he did them himself. So you get a lot of flamenco guitar.
Oh, nice. That sounds actually pretty.
Yeah,
But I do think like the tone of some of the music doesn't fit the scene. You know what I mean? Because I think there's a scene at the end
right.
where she's coming in, and it's supposed to be the huge dramatic climax in the movie, and she's running in and all panicky and it goes down 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 bam, wow, wow. It's like Jesus Christ, guy. Uh,
Yeah, the tone didn't work.
the tone
So
work.
Jess actually makes it. Yeah, Jess actually makes an appearance in this movie. The crazy guy who had our protagonist tied up in the basement.
That's an interesting subplot that just kind of felt shoehorned in, but it's also like that scene is really fucked up on its own. Like I feel like that could have been a horror movie, a whole horror movie of in and of itself, to a point where okay. So beginning of the movie, she's having these kind of visions. And again,
Right.
I don't know if this makes any sense because she hasn't met the vampire lady yet. So it's just like, why is she having these
No.
visions? No, yeah. Well, is she the woman in the
Well,
club? Like the vampire
the
woman?
vampire. Yes, yes, and the whole thing is she's calling to Linda.
Right.
So Linda's having a dream about her, and then then you hear her calling her several times when she's awake. So the vampire basically is out to get Linda to come and visit her.
All right. Well, and also it's one of those things where to bring up Twilight again, I do not understand what makes Linda such an because Nadia, right? Is the vampire girl woman's name?
Yeah.
Yep. She's like enamored with her. She is like
Yes.
that's the woman who she is like usually because we get her backstory, which is interesting. Like, and she said like she's saying it to her henchman Morpho, and that's it. Like he's just a henchman. There's no like backstory to that.
No, no, that's her. That's her. Her. What do they call that? Her.
Familiar?
Yes, familiar. That's
Okay,
it.
yeah. Okay, yeah. But she's like and saying this to a guy who I'm just assuming she's like been around for a while, but is explaining,
Right.
her origin where she was in a village that was stormed by soldiers. They don't make any distinction of what that was. And
Right.
she was about to be raped, and then Dracula came by and killed the soldier. And then she was just kind of his
Yep.
wife, slave, like, again,
Concubine.
concubine. And it's very incoherent of what exactly is going on in this movie. But she, the whole thing, the crux of it is that she inherited Dracula's fortune and is trying
Like,
to,
well,
huh?
like, because he turned her into he was like sucking the blood out of her till she was too weak, and then he gave her his blood to bring her back, and so she became Dracula's wife.
Right. And then I guess he dies, and then she got his inheritance, and I guess she's
Mhm.
trying to figure out who to give that inheritance to next with Linda. And it everything just happens so fast because it's just like, hey, we're meeting for the first time. Let's go swim naked, or but also she stops off at an island before going to the island of Nadia, and that's where she sees the guy, the kind of weird torturer guy. He's like, I guess, drilled a hole into a woman's. And by the way, it's one of those blood effects from the like 60s and 70s where it's just like it just looks like paint. I
Yeah.
can't be scared of this because it just looks like you put like paint on a woman's forehead.
I can talk a little bit more about Franco's backstory
Go ahead.
and some themes that he. There's some themes in his work too that you're gonna only seeing one. You wouldn't see these themes, but in the book that I'm reading, uh, he goes into it a lot deeper. But we got to
Which
remember
book is
Franco
that?
worked with Orson Welles. What's that?
Which book is that?
Flower of Passions.
Okay.
There's two of them. He did two books on them, and they're like that thick,
Oh wow.
and they're hardback. Yeah, with
And
all kinds of pictures.
And
But
I could definitely see like with his filmography, he'd have a lot to say. But you also said, yeah, his background is interesting, like really interesting.
yeah, I mean, he worked with Orson Welles.
Yeah, like on his movies, you said, or with the his what was it, the radio player, or like
No, he worked on a couple of his movies as a second director.
yeah, and kind of looking especially at the latter. Well, was it early stuff like The Stranger or stuff like that
It would have been in the 50s. I can't
in the
remember.
50s? Yeah,
The book talks about which movies he worked on,
right.
but
It, it
but
would-
I can't
it
remember
definitely would have
right
been
now.
post Citizen Kane. So maybe like it sounds like maybe Lady from Shanghai, something like that. Yeah.
Right. I think they're loaning Wells's films, and I don't think they ever reached Citizen Kane status, obviously,
No,
but
but he's
this is
made
what Franco didn't like.
he did. Well, I mean, Orson Welles is notoriously an asshole though. Like that was a thing, like to a point where there is bloopers from that wine commercial he did where he's just being a dick. Yeah, so
That's Orson Welles is the one. Well, he's the one that turned Franco off of making mainstream movies.
oh wow. Which is
After he worked with Wells, he's like, I'm getting out of the studio system. I'm going to work completely outside of the studio and just work with European financiers. He stayed in France for a long time because he got banned in Spain.
wow. That's why. Why was he banned in Spain?
Because of his films. They wouldn't play his movies. So he was in France for a long time making films in France, but they were in Spanish or they were in German or they were in French. You never know.
That's bizarre, man. But when you talk
Yeah.
about how Orson Welles turned him off of the studio system, I find that weird because the studio system kind of, fucked Orson Welles over after the movie that a lot of people consider to be the best movie of all time, Citizen Kane, just like got fucked over by the William Randolph Hearst because and
Yep.
it again, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I'm really interested in the Hanky, the new David Fincher movie about the co-writer of Citizen Kane, and his being in depth in the Hearst with William Randolph Hearst.
Huh, that's a whole side story that I know nothing about.
You don't okay, like because Citizen Kane has one of the best aftermaths of any movie. In a bad way though for them because because famously Citizen Kane based off the life of William Randolph Hearst.
Yep.
Yes. One of the guys who like hung around William Randolph Hearst at his mansion was the co-writer. So that's like how they get all this. It's why Snowblood, Rosebud, why that was particularly a point of interest for William Randolph Hearst because it was his girlfriend. It was the nickname for his girlfriend's vagina. So just like, how the fuck does he know that? Yeah, exactly. And it almost got Orson Welles blacklisted because William Randolph Hearst, huge huge media magnate, just he had like he had a critic friend who was like outraged by the movie and stuff like that. So it's like,
Right.
honestly, Orson Welles, as much as like he is heralded as one of the best directors of all time, and I honestly do believe that is true. He's made even outside of Citizen Kane, he's made some like brilliant movies. I mentioned Lady from Shanghai, also Touch of Evil. I haven't seen F for Fake. I hear that's really good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he really did. You know, he got really fucked over because of the movie he is best known for, and that's wild to me. But of course, also
Yeah.
like you said, I can totally understand why Jess Franco would get turned off by him, because he was notoriously a huge asshole, like notoriously difficult to
Yeah.
work with. Yeah.
Yeah. So some other themes that show up in Franco movies that you will see if you watch more of them. Strippers,
I mean, yeah, of course.
like, right, the vampire. He has so many of his movies strippers in them. They have this whole like undercurrent of strippers.
I just assume because like the beginning of this movie takes place in a club where there's like this weird performance art of and Nadia is one of the performers, and she's manipulating this woman who is like moving like she doesn't move on her own. She's kind of like a mannequin.
Right.
She's like Kim
Yep.
Cattrall in that one movie, Sex in the City 2. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and then another Franco theme that plays out over and over and over again is the sea.
Yeah, a lot of this movie takes place like on the like on an island or on the coast of somewhere, because it's always
Yep.
near a body of large body of water, pretty much.
Yep. And a third Franco theme is the zoom.
I don't think they do it
He
as
zooms
much
in
in
on
this one.
people.
I don't. Yeah, it doesn't. I didn't feel like they did it that much in this one, but of course that's also a thing of 70s filmmaking, is just like the zoom effect. Or yeah, to a point where someone I'm pretty sure you don't like, Wes Anderson, who's has been stuck with the same style since 1993, just imitating 70s film,
Yeah.
uses it a lot, and probably one of the few instances of it being used in modern movies. I wish and the thing is, like, it only seems to be used in modern movies as a nostalgia thing, because like the only other person I can think of that does that is another person I know you hate, Quentin Tarantino.
Tarantino's a hack.
We are going to have this conversation one day through and the thing is, like, I'm not a
have
huge
an original bone in his body.
no, but I'll I'll get into it, like, and I'm not even like somebody who like is a Tarantino apologist. Like, when he does something stupid, I'll point it out. Like, I don't think he's made a great movie personally since Kill Bill 2. I thought Inglourious Bastards was really good. I enjoyed Django and Hateful Eight. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet, but it's one of those
So
things
you
where,
mean
huh?
I was gonna say, so you mean the last good movie he made was Reservoir Dogs, right?
No, well, I think the thing that happened was he his and I talked about this on I think it was the Brigsby Bear episode. No, it was the Plan 9 episode. His longtime editor, Sally Memke, died in a hiking accident. So it's just like, hey,
Huh.
someone who he worked with very closely, who was in charge of kind of paring down his work as an editor, wasn't there anymore. So it was just like Quentin Tarantino ended up just, hey, I'll just do what the fuck ever. Studios will let me because I'm Quentin Tarantino. I will make large
Right.
box off. I bring in. I'm one of the few directors right now who brings in large box office with a rated R movie, and also award season. When award season comes around, they will at least nominate me for best original screenplay. So yeah, that's
Right.
yeah, and I misspoke. I don't think his last good movie was Kill Bill 2. I think his last great movie was Death Proof. I really enjoyed that movie. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna have
talk
like
about
a
Franco.
whole side conversation at some point about this. But again, I'm not even like a Tarantino apologist the way like some people are just like, you cannot say a bad word about Tarantino. Look, I really like Tarantino. He was I mean, like most millennials, he was influential in my film learning. Like the fact that, you know, watching interviews and like watching the movies that he loved influenced me more than I think his movies did. Um, you know, in the same way, I think you should definitely listen to like somebody like Scorsese or Spike Lee or all those other people who are great directors, but also very knowledgeable about movies. You listen to them and it's just like, oh shit, I need to check that out. Holy shit, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tarantino did not influence me because
Right.
he stole from so
And
many people that I already.
yeah, and I think
I
that's
was too
definitely
old.
yeah, that's definitely because you're almost 50.
Getting
You're
there.
yeah, getting there. You're yeah,
Yeah.
and you were of age when Tarantino became a thing. I was, you know, young, so like when he was an established director, it was like the guy you had to watch. To a point, like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm annoyed when people will just excuse like the bad stuff, like the bad stuff in his movies, like the not good stuff or the repetitive stuff. Like I don't care as much about ripping people off because everybody does it. I mean, fucking Sergio Leone ripped off Akira Kurosawa. You know what? He kind of
Yeah, and
ripped off
Lucas
of Akira
did too.
Kurosawa a lot.
And
So
George Lucas.
and George Lucas ripped off a bunch of people in making Star Wars. But you know, I just think
But
that
the thing is,
to quote Swingers, that's just movies, man.
the thing is George Lucas didn't copy scenes shot for shot.
Yeah, that's true. Although if you do you know like the story of Star Wars and the movie he actually wanted to make? You know what movie he wanted to make
Oh
instead?
man,
Flash Gordon.
what was that?
Yeah, he wanted to make a Flash
Ooh.
Gordon movie. And if you look at Star Wars, it's like, oh, pretty much a lot of this fucking movie is Flash Gordon because he wanted to make a fucking Flash Gordon movie. So, I mean, you could probably make the same thing about him. Like saying like, oh man, he's ripping off Flash Gordon so much. Of course, I'm not a huge Flash Gordon
Yeah.
guy, so I don't really know uh you know, I don't know how to say it. But also, happy Mandalorian second season, by the way. I'm not a huge Star Wars guy,
Ah,
but
yes.
Mandalorian, god damn, that's a great series.
I can't wait. I haven't watched episode. I haven't watched the new episode yet, so
Yeah,
I was gonna try and watch it.
yeah, because I've been binging horror movies, so I'm like, there's a bunch of stuff that's come out that I need to check out. Anyway, we keep getting off topic because but you know, zooms, they're a huge thing in his movies, as which with a lot of 70s filmmakers, which is like something I love. Like, what was it? Harold and Maude, I think, have some really good stuff, like with zooms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, so I don't even remember half of it.
But yeah, just right. Like, he's definitely somebody I need to definitely look out for because um just watching this movie, it's fascinating. what he does as an artist, because this is definitely an art movie. It is definitely like a movie that is a show. It's pretty much a painting. You know what I mean? It is a movie that
Yeah.
has so much great, really good. I'm not even gonna say great. I'm gonna say really good set design. It's got some good imagery. It's got some good like framing.
Yeah.
It is, just beautiful to watch. I think I'm gonna like turn off the subtitles next time because like you said, they don't matter.
Right. Right. It doesn't, because this is all about visual. And I will warn you, the further you go down the Franco hole, when you get to his like late 90s productions, they're shot on video, and they're basically scenes of Lena Rome, his wife, well, not really wife, but his partner for 40 years, naked.
So he's doing so that's where Rob Zombie got that. Hey, look at my wife naked.
Yeah. Except,
Uh
do we ever see Sherry Moon Zombie naked?
I think so. I want to say we do. I don't know. Like the last Rob Zombie movie I saw was Halloween 2, and even that was just I think I was done with Zombie. Like again, we're going off
Yeah.
like
So that,
we're gonna just keep going off of other directors that we
well, it's because you don't want to be honest. Is it because I think Franco definitely influenced a lot more directors than we think? Because
yeah,
Franco's film style, I mean, he like you said, he's so visual,
yeah,
and for me, that's the feast for me, is taking it all in visually. Because if you're watching it for plot, you're going to be let down. If you're watching it
yeah.
for pacing, you the idea of 70s pacing, because you're not going to get 90s cuts, you're not going to get 2000s cuts, you're
No.
not going to get an MTV cut of any of his films.
Well, the thing is, like, I'm a fan of 70s movies. Like, I love 70s movies. I feel like this is fast paced though for that. Like, I don't feel like I don't really think it. I think it dragged in the middle when they tried to add in more plot, which was a mistake.
Yeah,
I feel like you can
yeah.
even at this movie that's like 87 minutes. I feel like you can even cut 10 minutes of this movie, and it would
Well, I
be a
think,
better movie.
right, I think the stuff with Franco, his kind of off the side kind of stuff that was happening, that stuff could have been cut, but Franco's got such an ego that he needed to stay in it.
A director with that with as an extensive a filmography as that, I would definitely think has an ego. You know, um,
Yeah, and he makes a cameo in pretty much every movie he's ever made.
yeah, that so he's Hitchcockian in that way. um,
Yes, yes.
uh, so yeah, it's and there's not because again, all we can say about the plot really is it's pretty much Dracula, but the lesbian version of it. Also, the thing that they change in it for vampire lore is that you have to split open the person's head or puncture their head. Like,
Yeah, you gotta take uh steel or something like that is what he said, and you gotta puncture their skull.
and and this is said by what I'm assuming is supposed to be the Van Helsing stand-in to this, who also wants to be a vampire. I get like that came out of nowhere too. I think. I don't know. I don't know if he wanted to be a vampire. I don't know what the fuck is going on in this movie. I don't know who these characters are.
Yeah, I never caught on to that he wanted to be a vampire too. I just always saw it as he was the Van Helsing of the group.
Yeah, but he also had this weird exchange with the vampire woman at in the middle to where Morpho kills him. Again, it
Yeah,
is I will say I think the last 30 minutes of it are genuinely that's where the horror comes in. Like you get the Jess Franco's character torturing, kind of torturing Linda in again a genuinely fucked up scene where she has to like he has this thing again. I think that would made a great horror movie in and of itself, where he has this thing where it's like, I torture women, um, and with their while they're in pain, that's the true expression of love. So she has to like do that thing where it's like, oh yeah, that's what I want. It's basically the song Polly by Nirvana is like convincing your captor, hey, this is great, maybe if you untie me, we can have more fun. And she kills him with a saw. And yeah, it like that. And then you get to the end, which I think is genuinely has a lot of pathos, but also I don't understand what the fuck happened. Again, I think that's the theme of this movie is like, what the fuck happened? Not even in a, oh my God, that's crazy. In a genuinely, I am confused about the series of events that are occurring. Because Linda goes back to the island.
Yeah.
She goes back to the island to find Nadia, and Nadia is dying. Nadia, I guess, is lacking blood. And Nadia, who just become like, and she says she's like kind of, used men and women for substance throughout the decades, throughout the centuries. I don't know exactly how old she is supposed to be. But Linda, for some fucking reason, uh, uh, she's I guess in love with her, or just mesmerized by her. Yeah. And
that's never really defined.
yeah, no shit. Like most of this movie. But yeah, and Linda ends up killing her in the end. Like, no, she drinks Nadia's blood at one point, right? Like that's what's happening.
Right. I think there was a point where she was she was turned into a vampire. She was released from it, like in the other vampire movies. When you killed a vampire, you're freed from the vampire curse. So I'm guessing when she killed Nadia, Linda became free of the vampire curse because she goes off happy with her boyfriend.
Or it was all a dream? I don't know. Or a psychotic hallucination.
That is a plausible answer, because
I feel like that was
really
implied in that.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like that was somehow implied. Like it's nuts. Like but it's such a fun fucking movie. It's such a yeah, I can't stress enough that the main draw of this movie is the cinematography, is like the gonzo early 70s, like, filmmaking in this. There is
and
feels,
Gonzo is right on.
yeah.
I mean, that's Jess Franco in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's almost, I feel like, if they weren't parodying him directly, I feel like the style of filmmaking they were parodying, the Austin Powers movies, was kind of, that kind of vein of, groovy movie,
Yeah. Well, Franco did do spy movies. One's called The Girl from Rio.
Girl from Rio. I'm pretty sure Mystery Science Theater 3000 did that at one point. I might be wrong. They
may have. Yeah, I mean, they could have. Who knows? I don't know.
I'm a huge fan of theirs. It was either that or Riff Tracks. I've heard Girl from Rio. I'm pretty sure through them, but but that makes sense. I'm almost certain, like, one of the inspirations for Austin Powers was Jess Franco movies. So
You know what? That would be a very, very fun twist of events.
yes,
I would like to see more directors come out and acknowledge people like Franco who may not have been big money makers went so much, the connection with this to like Suspiria
yeah,
with the
it
color palettes and the warmth of the shots.
yeah that and Argento is a much more well-known filmmaker uh, than Franco, but I do definitely see them in the same vein. And also to a point where when you said like eventually uh Franco's work would be like video quality stuff, is this like it does also remind me of Argento because like he did that Dracula movie again, we're talking about Dracula, that is just incredibly just fucking bad they have a giant spider in there. Where in the fucking Dracula mythos has anybody mentioned a giant fucking spider? What, that makes no sense. But anyway,
There's a Franco movie where Lena Romay is tied up in a giant spider web, and they've got this really cheesy spider-like thing crawling down the web to get her.
you have to give me some suggestions for some more for Franco Jess Franco movies because like he is a filmmaker that I'm definitely gonna be interested in it and somebody who I definitely want to look more into his work because he just sounds fascinating as
He
a
did a couple
filmmaker.
of
Huh?
yeah.
As a filmmaker and
He did a couple
as a
of other
person.
yeah, he did a couple other movies too with Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Really? Not the Hammer horror stuff.
Yep.
It was a Hammer horror stuff?
Nope, not Hammer.
Not Hammer. Was it
Nope.
like Dracula 17,
Nope,
19?
not Hammer.
Not Hammer stuff? Wow. Interesting. I'll definitely have to check that stuff out. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And he's got all kinds of if you look at his later output in the 60s and early 70s, he was actually making decent movies. He was actually, working. It's just after the 70s into the 80s, he starts losing financing and he starts losing backers.
Right.
So, and that's when he starts shooting movie after movie after movie because he's trying to make his budgets go further and further and further. So he's shooting multiple movies on one budget.
Well, that is definitely a Corman thing right there, man. I also
Yep.
feel like that happens to a lot of filmmakers, like when they get older too. Like that just happens. Like I mentioned Spike Lee earlier. Like most of the movies he's come out with in the past like 2 decades, you definitely would have heard of, and they're very low budget stuff. But he keeps working. Sometimes they're good, most of the time they're bad. Like I love Spike Lee, but yeah, like when you put out an output like that, you're gonna have quite a bit of clunkers in your repertoire.
Yeah. Yeah. And Franco did have a lot of clunkers. I will tell you, after the 70s into the 80s, it starts getting very thin on quality.
As opposed, well, the quality, the visual quality is great in this. The story is bananas. It's bonkers. It's almost nothing and almost everything.
Yes.
So I cannot recommend this.
And then you haven't even gotten into the Lena Romay era.
I guess I haven't.
Check out Female Vampire. Once you see
So
Female Vampire,
is the titles of his movies just like the most literal it can be? It's just like, hey, what are we gonna call this movie about lesbian vampires? Vampyros Lesbos. What are we gonna call this movie about a female vampire? Female vampire. It's not even like lady vampire. That would have been.
You want to hear?
It's like it's the most clinical way you can describe a woman. Female.
Yeah, yeah. You know, here's the thing too: is I have Christopher Lee as Dracula tattooed on me, and
Yes.
I have Lena Romay as the female vampire tattooed on me too.
Is that what that is? I think I did. Have I been able to see that one, or is that not
It's
part of
my
your
naked
body?
lady on.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay, I didn't. I think you've told me that
Yeah.
before. Yeah. Well, show it on the Zoom.
Let's see.
See if it comes. Yep, there it is. And I hope we don't get this video taken down. But okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome. But it looks like a proto Vampirella. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Even though I
There's
think,
a you can see in it.
yeah, even though I think like those like that might have came out around the same time, like because Vampirella was like created in the 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah. Have you ever seen the
I'm pretty
movie,
sure.
the Vampirella movie?
No, no, I
It's
haven't.
it's terrible. I think
Yeah.
uh the lead singer of the Who is in it as a as the main
Oh,
villain.
Roger Daltrey.
Yes, Roger Daltrey is in the movie, is in Vampirella as the main bad
Oh,
guy. To a point, he even like disguises himself as some kind of rock star and does a song in the movie. It's ridiculously bad. The uh the love interest in Mortal Kombat plays Vampirella. So that's all you need to know is
Sonya Blade.
yes, yes. No, not Sonya Blade, the other one.
Sonya Blade. Oh,
No.
Katana.
Katana, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna tell you too. As far as Franco films go in their titles, I just picked this one up on the mid-year sale from Severin. It's called Shining Sex, and
What
Lena
could
Romay
that be about?
shines in it.
So
It's about
it's about what?
it's about
Tell me.
Alien.
Oh my god.
A-
That is
aliens
fantastic.
take over the body of Lena Romay and make her kill people who know about aliens.
I feel like that is also the plot of that Scarlett Johansson alien slow burn indie movie that came out a few years back. But goddamn, I need to see
I
that.
don't know.
I need to see Shining Alien. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Uh
you want to know the best part about it is there was hardcore inserts that they put in for the European audiences. So you get the Shining Sex with hardcore in it.
I've seen that in Thriller, or they call her One Eye. I don't know
A
the
cruel
official
picture.
title. Yeah, they like add in scenes of actual penetration. The only modern movie
Yeah.
I can think of that has done that is Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. So,
Yep. 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 Which
yep.
one and two are definitely on the list of movies you should probably see in your lifetime.
Lars, and again, we're going off on another director. Lars von Trier is somebody I've been like hesitant to get into because his films are said to be so bleak. That it's just
Very
it's like
bleak.
it's depression fuel. I feel like especially Melancholia, which is all a metaphor for depression. From what I
Yeah.
hear.
His
Um,
are very dark.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Even like the movies that aren't like, supernatural or anything like that, like they're just bleak. So I am hesitant. I think I will try to like sit down and watch like Antichrist or something like that. When
Yeah.
at some point when I'm in a headspace where I can deal with that. Probably not now because after October, after I binge so many horror movies, I have to decompress with some light stuff. So even though the horror movies I watched mostly were
Cleanse
like,
the palate.
yeah, we're like kind of junk horror movies and silly slashers and stuff like that. Anyway, um definitely recommend this movie. It's fascinating and fun. And you know what? At the very least, it's a movie you can have on in the background of a party. That's just like, hey, we'll build up some atmosphere. It looks great, and just like, hey, what the fuck? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's naked ladies.
There's naked ladies, yes. I mean, I'm not as impressed by that because, like I said, I'm like, 15 years older than you, and like I didn't grow up with the internet, but in my adolescence, I had the internet, and now you just naked ladies everywhere, and I'm very desensitized to it.
Yeah, you must be, because in my day, the was coming up when Netflix was still a movie where you got DVDs. It was a treasure
Yes.
to get a Franco.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I do remember that.
Franco film.
I do remember that. Though there is this thing, my uncle at like Christmas, I was playing Die Hard on TV, and he was just like, there's a scene where you see some tits in it, and he was just like, yeah, you don't see that much anymore. Everybody will get offended by that. It's just like, first off, we have the internet, high-speed internet, you can get porn everywhere. It's not an offense, it's not like a political correctness thing. It is a just oversaturation thing. Also, have you heard of Game of Thrones? Yeah, exactly.
Which
TV
I
has
love
taken
that.
those
I
rights.
love Game of Thrones. Yeah.
I'm not as big of a fan. But anything you want to say before we take off about this movie or Jess Franco?
Uh, I would say that people should really travel down the Franco path just to get a taste of how strange and wonderful he really is. I'm reading these two great big books on him, and I've gotten more and more insight into what he's doing. And there's a ton of documentaries out there on his Blu-rays and DVDs to give you a more in-depth look into who he is and his shooting locations, his shooting style, his color palettes, the fact that he had a director of photography, but most of the times he just did it himself instead of trusting the director of photography. He was a he was a sweet director who treated his cast very fairly and worked on minuscule budgets to create some of the best art house exploitation films I've ever seen.
I see, and that's something I like to hear about a director is like, that they actually treat their the cast and crew well, because like
Yep.
I like Stanley Kubrick, genius, just apparently a terror on set, especially. I mean, especially you look at how he treated Shelley Duvall on The Shining, and juxtapose that to how he treated Jack Nicholson on The Shining. You can definitely see, that was kind of a fucked up thing for her to have to go through.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and Kubrick did it for effect too. He wanted her to be in fear.
Right. It's one of those things where I don't I don't feel like, first off, Shelley Duvall, really great actress in any case. I feel like she could have gotten to that point without that. Like there's that, do you know the story of I think it's Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman on Marathon Man?
No.
Well, Laurence Olivier has this story he would tell where Dustin Hoffman, to get ready for the torture scene in Marathon Man, just like stayed up all night, exhausted himself, just to look as haggard as possible. And when he came on set, Laurence Olivier just said, "Have you tried acting?"
Yeah, because Hoffman's he's a method actor as opposed to
Yeah.
the traditional Stanislavski actor.
Yeah, and I my whole thing is like, long as you get there, but I don't think being an asshole to the people you're working with is a good thing. Again,
Yeah, it
Kubrick.
never is.
Yeah, Kubrick, brilliant. Also an asshole. Also, Alfred Hitchcock, brilliant. Asshole to Tippi Hedren, possibly raped her. That's hasn't been exactly confirmed, but I think Tippi Hedren all but said that, and it kind of makes sense if you look. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. because we're gonna get to we're at the end of the episode. Gabe, where can people find you, your work? You're a musician. How can people listen to your stuff? You just dropped a new remix.
Oh yeah, I've got a pile of remixes coming out that I've been doing for other artists. So I got Derision Cult. I just did 3 remixes for. There's this electronic band out of God, where are they from? Some Soviet. I don't. Is Soviet even a thing anymore?
No, it's just Russia. I don't know, Georgia, Ukraine. I don't know.
It's a Russian EBM project called Metzger that I just did a remix for. That's out on Bandcamp. There's a band called Prevert that I just did a remix for their song "The Big Fuck You," and then I've got my stuff on Bandcamp, microwave.bandcamp.com.
Right. So definitely check it out. You got my endorsement. Gabe is a great musician, and if you like industrial rock, you definitely need to check out Microwaved. But Gabe, thank you for being on the show and introducing me to Jess Franco. I'm definitely gonna look more into his stuff.
That sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully one day I'll have you on again for a blood feast episode. But anyway, thank you all for listening to I Love This Treasure. And just good night, everybody.